Before we start the episode, I just want to thank MC Lars once again for coming on the show. And stay tuned till the end of this episode. MC Lars has given us permission to use a very special song for all us Simpson fans at the end of the episode. So once it's over, stay for that. It's going to be awesome. Thanks again. And welcome to a new episode of The Simpsons Did It. I'm your host, Steven Skolansky.
And I'm your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
And this week, I think we're just going to stay home.
Yeah, I like staying home.
Be a toasty, warm bun.
Yeah.
Not go anywhere?
No, it's great. And then, when you're not doing anything, you could watch TV, you could go for a walk, you could listen to some fantastic music.
I know. And, speaking of fantastic music, we have a very special guest this week. He is pretty much like all our other Simpsons guests. He's a huge fan of The Simpsons. But then he goes above and beyond and writes a song about The Simpsons called The Ballad of Hans Moleman. And this artist has worked with some amazing artists, some of them being Weird Al Yankovic, MC Batcommander from the Aquabats, Jared Reddick from Bowling from Soup. Let's see, he has 6 albums. He does his own podcast. He has a comic strip on his website. And he's an all-around amazing guy. So let me welcome to the show Andrew Nielsen, or as pretty much everyone else knows him, MC Lars.
Hey, thank you, Stephen and Robert, for having me, and thank you for that really nice introduction. That's so sweet.
Oh, absolutely. We
like to make coming on.
Yeah, we like to make our guests feel welcome on our show, because just like any Simpsons character, we want them welcome in Springfield.
Yeah.
Like we do with all of our guests, Lars, we like to ask, as a Simpsons fan, when did you find The Simpsons? Was it when you, were a kid, later in life? What made you an avid Simpsons fan?
It was the only TV that, when it was on Thursdays, it was the only TV we could watch during the week, because I think the first episode I saw was Krusty Gets Busted.
Okay.
And then I would really love the musical element of it. The first CD I bought was Simpsons Sing the Blues. And there's something about it. I mean, that's captured our whole generation, many generations. But that first season I would have been in second grade. And in the Bay Area, it was like, I grew up in Oakland, like, there was you'd see a lot of the bootleg shirts, of course, you see around the world, but like you'd see the African-American Bart Simpson, right? Like the whole way that like people from different cultures embraced the Simpsons made it feel like it was a unifying cultural moment at a time when things were like weird, in the world, as they are now still, but.
Yeah. Yep. And did you get busted wearing some bootleg shirts to school? Like, all the teachers are like, nope, no Simpsons gear in here.
No, but I remember when the Underachievers shirt got banned. And I remember thinking, wow, this cartoon is actually affecting policy at schools. That was crazy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So this week we will be discussing Season 4, Episode 3, Homer the Heretic, which aired October 8th, 1992. So for those of you keeping track, we're only 3 weeks away from Treehouse of Horror number 3.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. The recap of this episode. Homer burns the house down and is saved by the local fire department, manned by volunteers of faith.
It's a great episode. I can't wait to dive into it.
This is absolutely fantastic. And so our chalkboard this week, I will not defame New Orleans.
And if anybody has listened to last week's podcast, in A Streetcar Named Marge, they sing an entire song making fun of New Orleans, and the city of New Orleans complained, and this was their apology.
So Lars, I know you've done tons of songs. I think you pretty much stay away from making fun of any cities, right?
I've made fun of some cities, and that's annoyed people, but nothing like the New Orleans song from A Streetcar Named Marge. That I remember when that came out, like thinking about how not only could The Simpsons annoy school policy and principals, they could annoy specific geographic areas. And I remember that was the first time I think I heard the word whores on TV.
Yeah.
And Homer says today, or on this episode, he says ass. Like that was the first time I'd heard that on TV, right? Am I wrong?
No, that's for all the quotes so far through 3 seasons. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah.
I've heard, damn,
Bart. Bitch. I know Bart says bitch.
Yeah.
So I definitely think The Simpsons were breaking a lot of boundaries. Now, the funny thing that we like to do is talk about how Bart winds up writing things on the chalkboard. Like, where did he go wrong in school to end up writing this on a chalkboard? But this one's just so out of whack. I almost think Bart, in school started singing this song in class.
Oh, there you go.
Right? Because he heard Marge singing it at a play or at a musical and decided to sing it in school.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's forced to write it on the board.
Well, this is the amazing thing about the chalkboard gags, and I'm sure you've talked about this, and this is something you always talk about, how topical they can be. It's like the Instagram of 1992. The meme went right up, and that's what's so funny about it, because they could animate it so quickly, right? Like,
yep. And that's one thing we are going to get into in this particular episode is, obviously, we've seen a lot of Simpsons memes on the internet, and really,
there's a couple
in this episode that really made it, onto the internet.
Yeah. I noticed that. Yeah.
And so this week, the couch gag, all the Simpsons sit on the couch, and it triggers a hidden door and spins them around. So
they live in a spy house.
Yeah. I think the Simpsons should live in a spy house.
That'd be kind of cool.
Now, if it spins around, does it spin around to the kitchen?
Or maybe just inside the wall and they're trapped.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. So, sometimes in these early seasons, sometimes the couch gags are so funny and so clever. Sometimes they're kind of like, all right, okay, the couch spun around. I honestly thought this was not one of the best couch gags because it just seemed like, okay, the couch disappeared. I don't know. And then as it goes on, they get to be more consistently great. Is that a controversial view, or do you think that this couch gag is underwhelming?
It's not necessarily one of the best ones.
It's not a memorable one for sure.
Yeah, but the funny thing about some of them is, like, some of them they cartwheel in and do a pose, or, I think last week's was kind of funny because it was literally the couch turns into an alien and eats the Simpsons. Yeah. And that was, that's tight. That's something that's different.
Have you guys touched on how, like, the one where they did the comically long one with the elephants and they're like in the circus and it just keeps panning out, how Family Guy basically just stole that?
Yeah, not yet. We have not gotten to that couch gag yet.
No, I think that's that might be the April
Fool's one, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Which is coming up pretty quick.
Yeah. So.
I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So we start this episode. Homer is in the womb. He's comfortable. He's, synchronized swimming. And all of a sudden the amniotic fluid starts to come out of the womb, and you see a doctor reach his hand into the womb trying to pull him out, and we realize this is Homer dreaming about being a baby, and the hand pulling him is Marge because she's trying to wake him up to go to church. And I definitely, as a kid, I think our parents always had to wake us up to go to services and even school. I don't think I've ever dreamed about it being a baby, though.
No.
So,
but the funny thing is Homer, in his flashback, he is getting pulled out feet first.
Yes. Yeah, you want to go head first.
Can I share a musical moment that connects us with the Deep Space Homer element? So they're playing the Blue Danube Waltz, which is the music they play when Homer's floating around in Deep Space Homer. And it's interesting that becomes Homer's default float music 2 years later.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed that.
No, I didn't. Thanks. I never noticed that.
That's kind of funny, though. Well, we'll make sure we'll put a pin in that and bring that back up in Deep Space Homer.
Yeah.
Homer the sperm.
So, Marge is trying to wake up Homer, and she goes, "It's church. You have to go." Because, they're religious, and if you don't go to church, you burn in hell. So Homer proclaims it's too cold out, and we get a shot of the outside, and it's like snow on the ground, cold wind, and there's a bear going through the trash cans, and the bear gets a fish out of the trash can, like a whole fish. And I think that's supposed to be a polar bear. Is that a polar bear?
I don't know. We all know that brown bears live in Springfield.
Maybe it's a brown bear that just covered in snow.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean,
good.
you didn't have snow in California where you live, do you? Or did you growing up?
We would go to up to the mountains and in like the Sierras, yeah, but not the Bay Area. You were in the Midwest, right?
Oh,
yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get snow. This is like the heart of what we get to deal with.
Yeah, I'd be glad you don't ever have to deal with this. So we hear Marge.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I don't want to. I'm going to keep interrupting. You guys run. If you want me to talk, I will. But I had one thing I wanted to say.
Oh, go for it.
The bear that's going through the garbage, it's like they colored it to look like a polar bear.
Yeah.
But it looks like the bear that like steals Maggie in the video game, in the arcade game.
Ooh.
It's like the same design. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
No, I know.
It's been a while since I've played the game.
Yeah, but then there's the Call of the Simpsons episode where Maggie gets taken by the bears.
And it looks like a brown bear.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just the artistic design for the bears in the Simpsons universe.
Maybe.
That's it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, okay.
Yeah. So, Marge says she has this argument with Homer every week about going to church. And so, Homer comes downstairs, he's trying to put his pants on, and they rip, and he's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm not going to church. And then he complains about his pants being one size fit all. Now, obviously, sweatpants are basically one, but like dress.
I don't think Homer would be wearing sweatpants. Well, I could see Homer wearing sweatpants to church.
But church pants that are one size fit all? It's a little weird.
I don't know. So Lars, I don't know. Did you go to church growing up or?
Oh,
now,
yeah, okay.
or...
Yeah, no, I was raised Episcopalian, and I still go to church. And the book, what's that? There's that great book about the Simpsons and religion. That what's it called? It's a really good book. I think it's called Anyway, I think it's interesting how The Simpsons deals with religion, and I can relate to this, not wanting to go to church, because some of my friends didn't have to go to church on Sunday, and this episode asked some interesting moral questions. I can relate to this. Did you guys? You two are.
We're Jewish.
You're Jewish, so did you grow up going to the synagogue?
Yep.
And we did Sunday school, so we were still doing stuff on Sunday as well. So, I mean, it was Friday night, all day Saturday. Sunday morning, the whole weekend thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because our grandma grew up Orthodox, so my mom, pretty much grew up that way and kind of put it on us pretty much all through high school.
Yeah.
The dude who wrote the Gospel According to the Simpsons, Mark Pinsky, he's Jewish, but it's the book is awesome. He'd be a great guest. I don't know, he wrote it in 2001, and it's a book of, and they have a great. The first chapter quotes the perfect teeth, nice smell, a class act all the way, like how the Simpsons personifies God. And I know we'll get to that, and I know we'll get I'm getting ahead of myself, but yes, I relate to the not wanting to go to church on Sunday.
Yeah, so, Marge is, moaning her moan, and I love the transition of her sitting there, standing in the hallway, grunting, and then it transitions to her driving her car with the kids. And Marge's car is not great because I guess she doesn't have a defroster because she keeps wiping the windshield. And that's not safe, and you have kids in the car. So maybe she should just, granted she wants the kids to go to church. So, and they're in her station wagon.
Which is weird, so I don't know if you've noticed this during the intro, but when Marge's car pulls into the driveway to hit Homer, it's a sedan. It's not her station wagon.
Wow, what?
Yep, and so we've been waiting. Well, actually, this is the first episode, I think, where we notice it's actually her station wagon.
That she's driving.
But it's also in the intro, it's still a sedan.
Yeah,
Marge is driving a sedan. So the next time you watch anything from season 1 to at least so far season 4, she's driving a sedan vehicle into the driveway.
That's tight. That's super tight.
So then we get Maggie's in the back seat, and She decides to lick her car seat, and she gets her tongue stuck. And I feel like this could be a reference to A Christmas Story, because A Christmas Story came out in, like, the early 80s. But also, I'm sure kids tried it, probably because of the movie, so... yeah, it's a good reference. And despite the fact that it is freezing cold out, none of the church-going Simpsons are bundled up.
Yeah, no, they're not in winter coats, jackets, hats, nothing. They're all wearing their
church clothes.
Church clothes.
Weird. Yeah, right. We always bundled up in the winter time to go to services.
I just thought that was odd. And then when you get to church, you do see everyone else kind of in winter.
Yeah. Well, it's cold in there.
Well, yeah, because the heat doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so then we get, Marge talking with Bart. And what was it?
Bart asks
Marge, where Homer is. And she says, he's resting. Then Bart replies, if Homer's resting because is he hungover? Resting because he's got fired? Oh, where was that? Man, where did I put that? Oh, there it is. Resting hungover. Resting got fired. Help me out here. Like, what is...
I can understand if he's hungover, but it's a Sunday. So I don't think he would have been at work on Saturday.
No, but we don't know Homer's work schedule.
That is true. I don't know if a power plant is open 7 days a week. I mean...
It's Burns. He's like the Scrooge.
Yeah.
He's Scrooge. He'd open up 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Yep.
Or Homer could be resting because he's depressed that he got fired, but that wouldn't make sense for his character. He'd be happy if he got fired.
Exactly. He would no longer have to work at the power plant anymore. And then we get one of the most used, I think, Simpsons memes.
Oh, yeah.
Is Homer wrapped up in his sheets in his bed, toasty, and he says, I am just a big toasty cinnamon bun.
Yeah, this frame is used in so many different memes. And it's just, I love it. It spawned a meme.
Yep. Have you ever been wrapped up in a big toasty cinnamon bun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially on those cold winter nights.
I know. Lars is over there like, man, I wish I had winter so I could be a toasty warm cinnamon bun.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's easier to use the bathroom when you're not a toasty cinnamon bun.
That is true.
Yeah, Homer's like, I don't want to get out of bed, but I have to pee.
Yeah. That's usually how I am when I wake up in the morning.
Yep. And then I like how he gets up, he pees with the bathroom door open, he showers with a no soap radio, which I'm sure all of us had one of those in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know if those actually exist anymore, or there's a
no, because there's like the Wi-Fi shower head. I'm assuming you guys have seen a commercial for that. So
where the music plays right through the shower head through Bluetooth.
That's tight. I didn't even know that existed.
Oh yeah,
yep. Technology.
That's cool.
Head out to Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm sure they have them. And so the guys on KBBL say they hope their listeners are someplace warm. And Homer replies, you bet your sweet ass.
Well, but he pauses because he looks around.
Yeah.
Because he forgets that the kids aren't home. So he's like, wait, I can say ass.
You could say a lot of things.
Yes.
And I'm sure we've all been there where, like, okay, so Lars, you have a kid, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's been moments where you look around, is my kid around? Yes, I can swear. I know I've been there I have a 3-year-old and he's just nonstop trying to repeat everything I'm saying.
That's cute. Ours is just turned 1 recently, so it's a little early, but my father-in-law was saying, oh God, and so now our son goes, oh God.
I did teach my nephew to say oh no when he was like 1. So
that's really cute.
Yep. And I was in the backseat of my car recently. And I know a guy cut me off, was like, Jesus, because he cut me off.
Yeah.
And now my kid thinks it's funny to say that because I say it. So I definitely got to be like Homer, to like pause, look around, and then say things. And so back at church, everyone is freezing because the furnace isn't working. And I like how some guy in the back yells out, yeah, what's the story?
Well, clearly the furnace isn't working because it's too cold.
Yep. And so Maggie's trying to drink from her bottle, and then it's completely frozen. Because I don't know how anyone would ever want to stay in that church.
Well, they're kind of trapped in there.
Now, we don't know that yet.
As we will learn, they're trapped in there.
But I feel like everyone should probably just get up and leave.
Yeah.
But then we cut back to the Simpson house, and Homer's in bear's feet slippers.
Those look comfortable.
I know. The coolest ones I have are Deadpool slippers.
I don't really own slippers.
No.
I had bear slippers just like that. My dad had a matching pair. So we both thought that was funny because we'd watch Simpsons together.
Nice. And so I don't know if anyone in their right mind should ever do this, but
my God.
Homer sets the thermostat to 100 degrees.
That's a little too hot. Like, I think in the summer or in the winter, I have mine set because I want to save money. I have my thermostat set to 65 in the winter.
That's cold. I mean, I go to about 75.
Yeah. I mean, you guys probably don't have to worry about heating your house out in California.
Yeah, it does get a little cold, but yeah, a lot of houses don't even have air conditioning because
really,
or central heating because like the Bay Area, it's not ever. Well, in the past, it wasn't particularly hot or particularly cold. That's definitely changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that'd be kind of nice because I mean, I've been to LA a bunch of times and it's it seems like it's hotter inland, cooler, more towards the ocean. And you kind of got to find definitely a happy medium when you're out there.
Yeah.
But I do think it's funny that Californians think 60 degrees is cold because that's like the Midwest most of the year, and I think that's pretty toasty.
Yeah, my mom she'll wear a sweatshirt. She's cold when it's like 60 degrees. It's just you get used to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we so Homer's at home. He turns up the radio. And he does the Risky Business living room scene dance. And for anybody out there, Risky Business came out in 1983. So that's two movies that came out in 1983. We have Christmas Story and Risky Business. But instead of in Risky Business, where Tom Cruise dances to Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger, Homer dances to the song Who Wears Short Shorts? Homer wears short shorts.
And what's another example of musical brilliance? Both of those songs start with the same opening riff. Da-na-na-na-na-na. So for a second, you think it's the other song. It's like a really funny musical pairing,
Yeah.
Like, that was brilliant. It's brilliant. That riff. Every time I watch this episode, I think it's going to be the Bob Seger song.
I gotta say, I thought it was going to be that, and then he starts singing Who Wears Shorts. I'm like, wait.
I didn't even realize the riff thing. Yeah. And knowing that, I think the Simpsons writers did this on purpose now. I was thinking they just couldn't get the rights to that song to play in the episode.
That's probably.
But at this point, Simpsons was such a powerhouse. I feel like they could license any song. Right?
Yeah. So that's why I'm wondering now that you say that, though, I think this might have been a joke.
Yeah.
Because of the riff part.
Yeah.
And not that they couldn't get the rights to it.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's cool though.
Yeah. Yep. So. Homer goes into the kitchen to grab some stuff out of his fridge, and I don't think I'd ever have this stuff in my fridge, but he has liquid smoke, eggs, and a waffle mix in it.
Yep. So he's gonna make it's a perfect chance to make his patented space age out of this world moon waffles. So he's like, let's see here, caramels, waffle batter, liquid smoke, which he pours, into the waffle iron.
Yep.
And then he cleans the side with his fingers, which I'm sure we've all done.
Yep.
Ooh, waffle runoff, he says, tasting the raw waffle. He opens the waffle iron, peels off his creation, wraps it around a stick of butter, and takes a bite. And then says, fattening.
And for anybody out there, because I didn't know what liquid smoke was, so I did a little research myself. So anybody who's not a chef or doesn't do a whole lot of cooking, liquid smoke is a water-soluble yellow to red liquid, and it's used for flavoring. It is a substitute for cooking with wood smoke because it has the same flavor. So.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is we always talked about what can we make from the Simpsons world in real life, and
You could
try
probably
it out.
make this.
And I'm not saying that we should. I'm not saying we can't make this. I'm saying, should anyone make this and eat it?
I think, well, if you take away the butter, you probably could eat it.
Yeah, that's just regular waffles at that point.
But it's got caramel.
Well, that's like
and
going to
liquid smoke.
IHOP at that point. But
But do they have liquid smoke at
I
IHOP?
don't know. Okay, Lars, would you eat this?
I've eaten weird foods. I'd eat like a bite of it. I couldn't eat the whole thing.
Oh, God, no. Well, it's a whole stick of butter. Would you like some waffle with your butter? So we come back to church, and Lovejoy is giving a sermon, and I love when he throws his arms upwards as he's giving the sermon. He hits a plant, and the plant literally breaks when he hits it because it's frozen solid.
Yeah.
So it just snaps because it's frozen.
I missed that joke. That's great. You caught that gag. That's funny.
I almost didn't, and I was watching, and it's just out of the corner of my eye. So he's talking. I think Lovejoy is talking about hell, and the Simpsons that are at church, because Homer's not there, are all imagining being in hell to keep warm. Which, if you're cold, you want to think warm thoughts. So we come back to the Simpsons house, and Homer is eating his waffle, and I love this, because we've had dogs, you own a dog. He drops some butter on himself, and Santa's little helper, he whistles for him, and he comes, and he cleans off Homer, and Homer just giggles while he does it. So, and then, after, the butter's gone, he kind of pushes Santa's little helper away. But I think we've all, Lars, I don't know if you've had a dog or some pets in your life that have done that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had a dog that would always eat anything we dropped.
Yeah. Clean up on aisle dog. So we cut back to church, and the service ends, and the doors are frozen shut. And I love this so much. Lisa starts praying, which Bart responds to saying, "This is neither the time or the place." Actually, this is the perfect time and the perfect place, because you're trying to get out of the church because the doors are frozen.
Maybe God stayed home and was a toasty warm cinnamon bun too.
Yes. So we cut back to Homer, and he's listening to KBBL. They're having a radio contest. And they're they ask the question, and Homer's like, "I know the answer." And so he calls in. He has the album that they're talking about, which is Johnny Calhoun, These Things I Believe.
Yeah, I like how he goes over to his record collection, flips through. He's like, "Dude, I got this."
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a typical thing. No, like one hit wonders suddenly being super politically conservative in the 60s. And I also think it's funny that the Johnny Calhoun song is called "Gonna Find Me a Genie with a Magic Bikini," and he's dancing to the "Who Wears Short Shorts." So they're both novelty songs about skimpy clothes. I think that's a throwback to that joke. I don't know. I thought that was a funny writing, because that happened in the 60s,
No, I know growing up in the 90s, I always tried calling into radio shows and could never get through.
Oh.
I think it's all a hoax. I think they have someone sitting in a studio pretending to be on a phone, because every time I call, it's always a busy signal. Every time.
What's the prize he wins?
I don't think they ever said.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't. Yeah.
They never said what he won.
That's really weird.
Interesting. That's interesting.
I don't think I ever saw that. Yeah, I don't think I heard a prize or anything. So, Homer calls in and says the word this instead of these, and they still accept his answer.
Because the answer is "these things, I believe." But he said "this things" because Homer can't read, because he's dumb.
And he's holding the record. So then we come back to church, and Willie is trying to use a blowtorch to open the doors.
Well, fire. Cold.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where the blowtorch came from, if Willie just keeps it with him at all times.
Maybe.
Yeah. I always keep a blowtorch with me all the time. Just in case this particular thing happens.
Yeah.
And so to pass the time, Lovejoy reads from the bulletin and describes a table that is basically garbage.
I love at the end of the bulletin, he lists all the wrong things at the table, and then the person wrote, "But it's fine." No.
Yep. And then I like how Homer's now watching the Three Stooges.
Yep.
And the cat's just sitting on the couch cleaning himself.
Because that's what cats do.
I've been there. My cat always just sitting on the couch next to me cleaning himself.
Yep.
And so Willie finally gets the doors open and everyone rushes out. And I love Bart. This is only, I think, the first time we've ever seen Bart running across the top of people's heads.
Yes.
To get out of somewhere.
Yep.
Or get to something.
I do like how when he's running on their heads, he compliments somebody's hat.
Yeah.
Nice hat. Bye.
It's almost like crowd surfing. Just,
yes.
I don't know if anyone could just go and run on people's heads.
Yeah.
Let's see. So then Homer asks the TV to work its magic because he's trying to find something new to watch. And then he turns on Municipal Roundtable. But then it gets interrupted for a football game. And Homer, starts dancing. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, Homer, a few episodes ago, you're all betting on football.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, you should know Sunday equals football. Yeah. And you should have just known to turn it on. But I love how football had to be interrupted by this.
No. Or football interrupted this.
It's like someone at the news station or the station it was on completely forgot that football was supposed to be on.
Correct.
So now Marge is in her car, and now the car won't start. And once again, Midwest people here, we've been in this situation where the car won't start because of the cold.
Or you just leave your car lights on.
Yeah, but I don't think Marge did that.
No.
And I like how Marge is making vrooming noises to try to get the car to start.
It's something interesting about the sound design with these early episodes. Like, it's kind of more artistic. Like the Marge doing the car noises, the guy saying, "What's the deal?" Like, you wouldn't have a random interjection like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It would be more. It's more clean now, but that gives it a charm and like a uniqueness. I think both of those sound design things are cool.
Yeah. No, that's amazing that they can pick that sort of stuff. I kind of want to know who the voice was of the "What's the story?" like who decided to shout that out?
Yeah. Well, you're not going to find it in the credits.
Yep. And so after dancing in his underwear, making waffles, winning a radio contest, and watching football, Homer finds a penny.
Yep.
And he's like, could this be the best day of my life? And then a thought balloon pops above Homer's head and reveals memories of Homer marrying Marge.
Yep.
And Homer gleefully running around a spraying crashed beer truck in a swimsuit.
I mean, I think the beer fountain would be better than finding a lucky penny.
Oh, I thought you were going to say better than his wedding day.
Well, no, wedding day should probably be number one for Homer. But for me, I'm saying if I had to choose between a lucky penny and dancing around beer, I'm going to take dancing around beer.
I don't know. We all know Simpsons financing. Finding a penny could be the best day of his life.
That is true.
And so Homer asks the family how church was as they come home. And they just kind of shiver. And Homer says he's having the best day ever. And it's all because he skipped church.
And so this scene is kind of weird. We get an animation here. So when Marge is talking to Homer, you can see Bart and Lisa standing next to Marge. When Homer answers Marge, Bart is standing behind Homer, but when they cut back to Marge, he's, in front of Homer again. So, I kind of want to know what happened there. It was just really weird that happened.
Yep. And so now Homer declares that he's never going back to church. And, Marge is like, I can't believe you're giving up church, Homer. And then Homer's like, hey, what's the big deal about going to some building every Sunday? Mm-hmm. I mean, isn't God everywhere? And then Bart's like, amen, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever use that excuse for getting out of church?
I mean, that's kind of like Martin Luther and the 95 Theses that he nailed to the door. Basically, this idea that we all have a connection with God, so we don't need the institution of the church. And in a way, that makes the relationship more pure. So it's interesting because it's like citing this very specific precedent with the Lutheran religion that is like legitimate. You know what I mean? And I think that's a great point. But that doesn't fly when you have strict religious parents.
Yeah. So, and then I love, Marge is like, so are you giving up your faith? And Homer goes, no. Yes. But realistically, he's not really giving up his faith. He's giving up going to church.
Yeah.
So now we cut to the next day, and Marge is cleaning. Maybe it's the next day, but Marge is cleaning out the waffle maker, and she's still in disbelief. Homer isn't going to go to church. And Homer asks, "Is God really worried about one guy not giving up 1 hour of his week to go to church?" It's true. I mean, as Homer pointed out, if God's everywhere, then he's still connected to God even if he stays home. And he's like, "Well, what if we pick the wrong religion? Then you're just making God madder and madder." And I like to point out that that South Park decided that Mormonism was the correct religion in their movie. And I do love, as Marge is asking Homer, like, why aren't you going to church and all this? Bart is just egging Homer on with amens and hallelujahs and just testify. So then we go, to nighttime. So I guess it maybe was still the same day.
Yeah.
Because now Marge is praying, doing her nightly prayers to God to, show Homer the error of his ways. And I love the fact
Come to bed, Marge.
Come to bed. And he tries to play with her hair. And so it's fantastic because as we see through the episode, Homer kind of goes through the 7 deadly sins of lust, greed, pride. Those are the only 3 I can remember. Sloth, being lazy. So this is the lust portion of the sins.
Well, he is a heretic.
Yep.
And so I like how Homer's, tries to keeping Marge in bed, and he just ends up falling asleep before he gets to the word good night.
Yeah, I could do this all.
Yep. And Homer just wanted a little hanky panky.
Yeah.
Now in this, I think it's an upcoming scene. Was it this one where Homer's actually naked and Marge is fully clothed? Because we've been getting the opposites.
Oh, I didn't notice that in this episode.
Well, you know how I always like to notice Marge naked in bed all the time.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a little reversed this time.
Okay.
Let's see here. So Homer starts dreaming, and there appears to be, an earthquake, and the TV says, "Uh-oh." And, God comes down, and, they have a little chat, and Homer's like, "I'm not a bad guy. I work hard. I love my kids. So why should I spend half my Sunday hearing about how I'm going to hell?" And God's like, you got a point there. Sometimes even I'd rather be watching football. Does St. Louis still have a team?
So, for anybody out there who's not a big sports fanatic, St. Louis did actually have a team up until '88, which was then moved to Arizona and became the Cardinals. The original St. Louis team started in Chicago, then moved to St. Louis in 1960, and now we have St. Louis. Then there was the St. Louis Rams, and now they're the LA Rams. And another thing is, God also has 5 fingers. He's the only character in Simpsons history to have 5 fingers.
Yep. But God, obviously God didn't create anyone in Springfield in his image.
No.
That's great trivia. Yeah.
Yep. Well, we did. No. Remember? I guess Radioactive Man's technically a comic book.
Yes.
But Radioactive Man does have 5 fingers.
But he's not real.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, he had 3. He had 4 fingers until he got hit with the nuclear blast, and then Radioactive Man got 5 fingers.
Yeah. He's a mutant.
Yeah. And so, God, I like how Homer tells that he hates Lovejoy's sermons, and he's going to go give Lovejoy a canker sore for Homer.
Oh, canker sores are horrible.
Yep. And then God leaves Homer saying that he has to go appear as a tortilla in Mexico.
In a tortilla.
So he's the filling?
Yes. Well, no, because... So the joke is, and this might be a little racist of a joke in today's standards, but a lot of Mexican people tend to see Jesus in their food.
Oh, right.
So that's the joke here. It might be a little bit on the racist side, But in 92, I feel like you're going to get away with this joke. This joke in today's age probably wouldn't pass muster.
No. And so cutting back to Homer sleeping in bed, he's waving bye to God and drooling. And then
and Marge is just looking at him, and that's another like absurd, wonderful, strange moment. You don't get those kind of moments on the current Simpsons, you know?
No.
Like the absurd, just that's just a very funny scene. Like there goes Homer waving in his sleep. Like this episode is full of those little moments that are very indicative of season 4. You know?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about this is I had a dream about driving a car.
Yeah.
And apparently my wife told me I was literally driving a car. My hands were in the air and I was actually driving.
Did you wake her up and she noticed that, or?
I don't know. Well, she was just apparently watching me driving a vehicle in a dream. So, for all you out there, it can happen where your arms do random things.
Absolutely.
While you're dreaming. And so then we cut to Lisa asking Homer why he's being blasphemous. And Homer says if he's wrong, well, he'll recant on his deathbed.
Yeah, I mean, that's what people do on their deathbed. They, make up for the horrible things they did in life. And if Homer is wrong, then he's horrible. So, we had a couple animals. Because he's outside talking to Lisa. A couple animals laying on Homer. Because, he's like one with nature now. And he tells the animals as... I don't know if Episcopals do this, but I know they do this in Catholicism where they say, peace be with you. And the animals don't leave Homer's side, and Homer goes upstairs to shower, and he tells the animals, hey, can I get some privacy here? That was pretty funny.
Homer's also now a Disney princess.
I guess.
He can attract animals.
So Marge invites Reverend Lovejoy over for dinner because she has an ulterior motive because Homer hasn't been going to church. And so Homer tells Lovejoy that God spoke to him in a dream, and he knew it was special because he normally dreams about naked Marge. He dreams about naked Marge. Because he was going to say, obviously he was going to say naked women, but Marge would probably get... Now, granted, can you really get mad at somebody for a dream?
Yes. Yes, you can.
So Bart asks Homer what God looked like, and as we, in the book that Lars mentioned, perfect teeth, nice smell, class act all the way. Well, you'd hope so. He's God.
Yeah. Or he could be a 5 foot tall elephant man. We don't know.
Was that when he was in South Park? Wasn't the South Park like a rat thingy?
I don't know what God was in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Or he could just be a rat animal looking thing.
Yeah.
So, Lovejoy asks Homer, I love this scene. Lovejoy asks Homer to think about a Bible verse, and Lovejoy says it. And so Homer tells Lovejoy to think about a different one.
What about Matthew
17:25? And Lovejoy quotes the verse to Homer, and Homer's like, yeah, just think about it. Oh my God. Because I think I've done that to friends before where I'm just like, I say something and it doesn't make any sense. And I'm just like, yeah, you think about that one.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a really funny moment when Marge is like, well, Reverend Lovejoy, we didn't just bring you here for dinner. We brought you here for an ulterior motive. And Lovejoy's like, what? But if you think about it, the role of a priest, anytime anyone invites you over, they want something from you, or there's an ulterior motive, or that's the whole reason you're at their house. So that's funny because he's surprised. But why would he be surprised,
Especially considering it's Homer.
Right. That's that's another funny, little weird moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Homer decides to, Homer's at Moe's, and he calls into work for a religious holiday, and they're like, well, what holiday? And this reminds me of Seinfeld, the Human Fund.
Yeah.
Homer says he's calling in for the Feast of Maximum Occupancy 65. Which
no, the Feast of Maximum Occupancy. It just said 65.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Sign.
Apparently, I read somewhere that people actually celebrate this on June 5th. Because 6/5 is June 5th.
Oh.
I read it. I don't know if it's true. So for any of our huge Simpsons fans out there, if you actually celebrate this, let us know, because I'd like to know what you guys do.
That's funny.
So Homer tells Moe to join his religion, and Moe says he was born a snake handler, and I will die a snake handler. And yeah, that's a religious thing too.
Yep, more south.
Yes,
in the south.
So Homer is at home. Flanders comes.
We should note that then when he says that, he gestures and his hands come.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
all bitten by snakes, and well, snakes are gonna bite you. So Flanders comes over, and he's gonna try to get him back to Christianity. And it's not like Homer really left. Now, granted, he started his own religion.
Well, I don't think he even really started his own religion. He just wanted to worship God in his own way.
That is true. So then Flanders starts to sing, and so Homer's like, closes the door on the Flanderses. And then we see Homer sleeping at work, and the phone rings, and for a moment you think it'll probably be Burns to like wake him up and yell at him. Nope, it's the Flanderses singing some more.
It's the Noah's Ark song.
Yeah. And so now Homer is driving, probably back from work, and the Flanders pull up next to him, and they keep singing the Noah's Ark song.
Boy, the Flanders really, they're trying to get him.
Yeah.
Trying to get him. So Homer pulls away, and Todd says, the heathen is getting away. And it says, it sees him, and he speeds after him.
Yeah.
And then I like how Homer cuts in front of a moving train and drives through an open boxcar.
Yeah,
I don't think there was a ramp there to...
No. Well, it's an action sequence.
Yeah.
So it's not going to make sense.
Yep. And then they drive towards Springfield Harbor, which I think this is like the first instance of Springfield having a harbor.
Yeah.
And then they drive past the billboard that has Blinky on it.
A Blinky.
Okay, not the Blinky.
It's not, because they ate the Blinky.
They ate the Blinky. And then I like how Homer drives off the pier into a garbage barge. He's like, yeah, this is heading to Garbage Island. And then Flanders like slams on the brakes. Well, he got away.
Yeah.
And Homer will be back from Garbage Island tomorrow.
Probably.
Yeah. Maybe Lars, maybe you could speak to this being, I don't know, did you guys do the whole going door to door, trying to get people to go to your church and convert people?
No. That I think it's more the evangelicals, evangelicals, fundamentalists. Yeah, it's Flanders. The Flanders, his role in this is interesting because like sometimes Flanders is annoying and pushy, but sometimes he's just like the nice, great neighbor, and so it's funny how like he's harassing him with his wanting to save him, right? And so, no, I didn't do that, but I think it's funny how the Flanders character reflects a lot of different Christian archetypes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then we get back home, and they're watching Itchy and Scratchy, and this episode is Fillet Me to the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. This is a real classic Itchy and Scratchy episode. So Scratchy's reading the paper, and Itchy comes in, grabs his tongue, runs it to a rocket, blasts off to the moon, ties it around the moon, and then as Scratchy's like looking up at the sky, it's like, oh, and then the moon's getting closer, and then then smashes, hides in a closet because apparently that's gonna help.
Yeah, the moon is freaking huge,
and then crushes the house.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go as far as say this is my favorite Itchy and Scratchy. Okay. It's so absurd, it's so perfect. Yeah. Like this is the best Itchy and Scratchy episode I think of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I love this one. Of all the ones that I've seen so far, again, this is like the most memorable in my mind.
Yeah.
So Bart asks why they have to go to church, because apparently they're watching it on a Sunday morning?
Yeah.
All right. If Homer doesn't, and Marge replies that Homer is wicked.
Ooh. Now, granted, when we were growing up, our father didn't really like to go to services.
No. I mean, he stayed,
he usually went because I think our mom made him, but,
Yeah.
And that's why we probably never asked Mom, like, why do we have to go? Because Dad always went.
Yeah. So our dad was slightly better than Homer.
Slightly.
And so Homer tells the kids about a long-haired guy who did what he thought was right, and that's what's his name? I forgot. But the point is, I forgot that too.
Yeah. I think he's trying to get to Jesus there, but completely just glossed over everything he was trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's just so funny. Like, I thought Homer was going to get it there for a minute.
Really?
Okay, maybe not, but slightly.
And that's the joke about, like, the writers, the writers get it. The writers get that Homer's so dumb, and, like, historically, everything that, like, so much of what Christians do is not what Jesus would actually do. Yeah. And so fighting the state and fighting the power and fighting, like, tradition was Jesus' central mission. So that's hilarious. That gets to the whole truth of this whole episode, you know? It's a great joke.
And so, you know, Marge is, you know, she says, "Don't make me choose between my man and my God, because you just can't win." And Homer's like, "There you go again. Always taking someone else's side. Flanders, the water department, God."
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, if you look at, like, the older episodes, he, you know, gets in her face about that.
I mean, a lot of things. Yeah. Like,
well, with her taking other people's sides.
Yep. And it's always Flanders. She's always, that's his go-to is Flanders, which is kind of funny. And then Marge asks Homer one last time, and the TV says, "Coming up, how to make your own ladder." Well, that would catch my attention. I want to know how to make my own ladder.
Yeah, right?
Yep. And so they go to the Springfield church. Today's topic is when Homer met Satan. Yeah. And so the Reverend Lovejoy says, "The devil walks among us." And I like how Bart grabs the guy in front of him who looks clearly like Satan.
Like a human version.
A human version of Satan.
Oh my God. And then I think Lovejoy's like, "Yeah, don't grab him." Like,
yeah. It was a metaphor.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the Simpsons house, and Homer is on the couch reading a Play Dude from July of 1986.
Yeah. Hey, man, he likes a collection,
I guess.
And then Krusty rings the doorbell. I love it.
There's a joke worth mentioning. He's like, "Oh, there's an interview with the Saturday Night Live guy."
Yeah.
And
Lorne Michaels.
Lorne Michaels, right? But because there was always this feud with the Simpsons writers and the cast of the Tracy Ullman Show, and that a lot of them hadn't been casted on Saturday Night Live. I guess the only Harry Shearer was on Saturday Night Live, so they always do a lot of digs at Lorne Michaels, and that was a subtle one.
Gotcha. Okay,
that's all. And then he like changes to a different article.
Yeah,
but that's also kind of the joke in a lot of TV shows is they're just reading them for the articles.
Yeah.
So then Homer answers the door, and Krusty's like, "Hello, I'm collecting for the Brotherhood of Jewish Clowns. Last year, tornadoes claimed the lives of 75 Jewish clowns. The worst incident was during our convention at Lubbock, Texas, where floppy shoes and rainbow wigs everywhere. It was terrible." And then Homer's like, "Wait a minute, is this a religious thing? A religious clown thing? Yes. Sorry. Well, bless you," and then he slams the door in his face.
Yeah. So then the next scene, Homer goes to the Quickie Mart in his robe to buy a beer and a cigar.
Oh, this is such a
And Homer notices Apu is also not in church, and this is the first time that we actually get confirmation that Apu is Hindu.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, but I am. I have a shrine to Ganesha, the god of worldly wisdom, located in the employee lounge." And Homer's like, "Hey, Ganesha, want a peanut?" And the food's like, "Please do not offer my god a peanut."
And then we cut back to Homer at the house. He's smoking a cigar. He's having a good old time. And he goes, probably the greatest quote ever, I think, in the fourth season, for sure. "Everyone is stupid except me." Homer Simpson before he starts his house on fire. And so now the house is burning all around Homer, and I love Homer's just lying on the couch. "Marge, turn down the heat." Because it's fire and it's hot.
Clearly, Marge is not at home.
So then Santa's little helper, he runs in the room, and for a second you may think he's going to help Homer, wake up and, leave. But nope. Santa's little helper is there to steal Homer's chocolate bar. And if you look at it, the last 4 letters are S-H-E-Y, like a Hershey bar.
Yeah, so, I would think it's a Hershey bar.
So a Hershey bar. And then he takes the chocolate and
maybe it was a snap at Butterfinger. They were like, you know what? Don't lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
Right. And so then Santa's little helper runs out the doggy door. So then Homer is awoken by his hair catching on fire. And he must have really fast growing hair because we see it singed off. And then the next shot when he stands up, his hair is there again.
Yep.
So, he grows that hair. He grows those 2 hairs pretty quickly.
Yep.
So then Homer's like, wait, there's a song about this.
It's like, something you will see. You'll avoid catastrophe.
Doe. And then Homer passes
do you know that, Lars? Do you know that song?
No, I googled it. I tried to see it, and I think it's something they made up for the show.
Yeah. Okay, because I almost think
I don't remember a song.
Yeah, there's always like the roll, stop, drop, and roll. I could have sworn there was like one of those types of songs growing up.
So then Homer passes out due to the smoke because that's going to happen. And then we see, I don't know why Apu is looking through binoculars, but he is, and he just happens to see the Simpsons house on fire, and so he puts on a fire chief hat, and then I don't know if this is supposed to be his son or Sanjay's son.
Sanjay's son, because we know Apu doesn't have kids yet.
Yeah, so he puts the child in charge, and Apu asks the bullies not to steal, and they're like, "Oh, we won't." And the kid pulls out a shotgun, much to the bully. He's like, "My time has come." And Jimbo's just like drops the cereal he's eating, and the bullies are just like wide-eyed, like, "Oh God." So then, the volunteer fire department consists of Chief Wiggum, Krusty the Clown, Lou Ann Van Houten, Barney, Otto, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but Hans Moleman with a mustache. Because there is another character on that fire truck who I have no idea, but the shape reminds me of Hans Moleman, but the character has a mustache.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice it. I'm watching it. But the weirdest of everyone, I would say Luann Van Houten is kind of on the top of why would she be a volunteer firefighter?
But this is also not the last time we will see the fire department, because there's 2 other episodes where they do a fire department centric.
But Barney and Otto, they have to be the worst on the team.
Oh, absolutely. So then, they're like rushing to the house, but they have to stop because ducks are crossing the road. And, so then Ned walks by and sees Homer passed out in the fire and kicks down the door and saves Homer. And so he brings him upstairs, throws a mattress outside, throws Homer onto the mattress, and then Homer bounces off the mattress, back into the house, and then Dad's like, and he jumps out the window, bounces the mattress, bounces back in, and then drags Homer through the front door, why he just didn't do that the first... Oh, no, because the beam fell.
Yep.
So
now I'd like to point out, I brought this up, and I don't know if anyone else has any take on it, but Ned Flanders is not in church. It's Sunday. Homer's obviously staying home from church.
Correct.
Everyone else is at church, but not Ned Flanders.
Now, here's the thing, and I know we talked about it, and you're like, oh, Springfield's small. We don't actually know how big the town of Springfield is. We don't know how many people go to church.
But we do know that everyone goes to church.
We know everybody, but in a lot of bigger, in a lot of cities, and I don't know if Lars in your church, if you guys did this, but there's like different times where people can go to mass. And maybe Ned's the only one that goes to early mass and everybody else goes to the 10 a.m. one.
Oh, that's interesting. So Ned just happens to be walking by.
Exactly. He should be in church.
But my thing is, maybe he went to the early service with his family, and then everybody else goes to the 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. one.
Wonderful point. I hadn't even thought of that. That's a great point.
I don't know. I don't think Reverend Lovejoy is even wanting to get up that early.
I
don't think Reverend Lovejoy is the Reverend who's going to have multiple services.
But Reverend Lovejoy is a fire person in the episode, too. So how did he... did church end early? Right, he comes by as one of the fire people.
No, he was not one of the people on the fire truck.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still saying, why the hell is Ned missing church? I get the whole point of Ned's the friendly neighbor trying to save Homer's life, but I feel like everyone else left church to go to the Simpsons house.
Or the other possibility is everybody, they went to church, services ended, Ned came home, and then walked by.
I don't know. But I think it's a stretch.
Because don't forget, like on Sundays when we went to Sunday school, usually afterwards we went out grocery shopping.
Yeah.
So maybe Marge and the kids went out for like a late brunch. Ned came home, saw the house on fire. So Homer asked why Ned saved him, and Ned was like, "Oh, you would have done the same for me." And then we get Homer with a thought bubble, and Homer is drinking his drink, and Ned's in his house. Sitting in his hammock, and Ned's in his house all on fire. So then we cut to the next scene, and the rest of the Simpsons get to the house, and Krusty comes out with the cat on his face, and Barney has an axe, and he's like, "Well, what do I do with an axe?" And Wiggum's like, "Well, you chop things." So he chops down the Simpsons mailbox.
That makes complete sense.
So Lisa says, "Oh, this was an act of God." And then we see like the flame jump from Homer's house to Flanders' house. And so the Flanders' house is on fire. But then we see a small little rain cloud appear and put out the fire on Flanders' house.
Yeah.
Because, Flanders is a godly human being.
Yep. So God likes Flanders.
Correct.
And so that... so we get total disaster insurance.
Yes.
I feel like this would definitely be a company Homer would sign up for.
Correct. Well, what did you have missing? A Rembrandt, a Lamborghini. Sorry, we only cover things that actually exist.
Now, Lars, have you ever had to file an insurance claim on your house?
We had an accident on tour, and we had some stuff damaged that someone I was on tour with had insurance. So yes. How about you guys?
Car insurance, kind of.
Yeah, just really car. But the funny thing I like about this is, so I am a home theater system designer, and every once in a while we do insurance claims for people that might have lost like home theater stuff. And just like the guy was like, well, why don't we just put all this in as a quote to tell the insurance company? We'll see if they approve it. Funny, and I put like $20,000 worth of like home theater and installation and everything, and the insurance is like, okay, good to go. And I was like, dude, I was just putting top of the line stuff on there, not thinking that the insurance company would approve it. Yeah. But they did.
Yeah.
So wow. I think it's just kind of funny that Homer couldn't get a Lamborghini past the insurance company.
Well, I mean, also, now here's the thing: when you do your home insurance, when you buy a new house, you usually set a limit.
Yeah.
So,
but no, hey Lars, did you guys tell the insurance company you lost like a really expensive Les Paul or really good DJ equipment or something? Like no, you got some of the best.
We could have easily, and I think that's to your point that like it's easy to fleece these behemoths of the insurance industry.
Yeah,
because they don't know what you have. It's not like you have proof of the actual stuff. But I get it. You don't want God to smite you for lying about the equipment you have. And I don't know if news normally covers fires.
Yes.
Oh, they do? Okay.
In smaller, in a town like Springfield, they would cover this.
But Ken Brockman is covering the scene, and he looks like he was inside the Simpsons house because he was covered in smoke.
Which, obviously, that would never happen. The biggest reason, I work in television, and so probably the biggest story I think I've ever been around was there was an explosion in Madison, Wisconsin, and our meteorologist just happened to live over there, and he was the first on the scene. Now, yes, they got close enough to the scene where they could get video, but they didn't actually go in the rubble. So no, Kent Brockman would not have gone to the house.
Gotcha. And so I like how the fire department puts out the fire, and then they go in the house to drink hot chocolate. I'm not entirely sure why the fire department just decides, hey, you know what? We're already here. We might as well.
Yeah, why would you be in the house? It's probably not safe to be in.
It's wet. It's destroyed.
Yeah. Well, granted, we know the police in town are
not smart.
Yes.
Yeah, but I do also like why is Chief Wiggum on the volunteer fire department if he's the
Chief of police.
chief of police?
I don't know. Maybe he likes to put out
I
fires.
thought police and fire just were mortal enemies.
Don't forget, they don't actually have a fire department, so they need
Right.
volunteers.
And I like how Homer says there's a lesson here, and Marge agrees. And Marge is about to tell Homer what it is, but, she decides to let him figure it out on his own.
Well, no, he said he wants to figure it out on his own.
And so Lovejoy says God was in their hearts of their neighbors that saved Homer, whether they be Christian, Jew, or miscellaneous, as he's pointing to Apu.
Yeah.
Which, oh my God, this is just another one of those jokes that I don't think would fly today.
No. Yeah, and so, Apu's like, oh, I'm Hindu, and there's 700 million of us. Now, in 1992, that was probably accurate because I looked up the stats. In 2021, there are currently 1.1 billion people who are Hindu. It is the 4th largest religion in the world.
Nice. And so Lovejoy asks Homer if he'll give church another try. And Homer says that he will be there front row center.
But he never said anything about staying awake.
Yep. Oh, that was just so funny.
Yeah.
You ever fall asleep in church?
No. Have you guys fall asleep in the synagogue?
Oh,
I
yeah.
I
think I have.
I think I did once or twice, but not for super long.
Yeah. And so we see another dream sequence with Homer. And he's talking to God again, walking, through the clouds. And we see Benjamin Franklin and Jimi Hendrix playing air hockey. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And in this dream, if you notice, yes, God has 3 fingers and a thumb.
Animation error, for sure.
Maybe.
No,
which one was the animation error? The first time or the second time?
The second time.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
All right. And then Homer asks God what the meaning of life is, and God tells him that he'll find out when he dies in 6 months. But Homer demands to know now because he's, impatient. He wants to, either that or he wants to die now. And God just tells him, he's like, okay, I'll tell you. And then it cuts to music for the credits.
Now, the thing with the whole 6 months is that the episode 6 months from this episode is the April Fool's Day episode, which a lot of people have a theory that Homer actually dies in this episode, and everything past that episode is just
Homer's dream.
Homer's dreaming.
Or afterlife.
Yeah. So, it's funny that they're like, oh yeah, 6 months. Like, they kind of foreshadowed it a little bit in this episode that Homer might die.
I mean, we're on episode
3.
60... Oh. Let's see, 61 to 62. Well, I don't know, man, because wasn't that episode 100?
I don't think so.
Oh, no, maybe not. No, I think you're right.
Not even near 100. It's like 75, maybe.
Okay. So that's kind of funny that's a foreshadowing thing. All right.
So they think Homer dies on that clip show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never heard that theory.
Yeah, so the whole thing is in that episode.
With it's with the beer that explodes.
Correct. Yeah.
And so he's in a coma, in the hospital, but basically the theory is he never actually woke up from that coma. But him waking up was just him, still dreaming, and everything after that episode was just shenanigans, what's in his brain.
Wow, that's kind of funny. That's definitely that's cool to think about. I think that's definitely like retcon and fans putting it together, but that is cool though. The timing of that.
I mean, yeah, the absolute timing of it being exactly 6 months from this episode is just strange, but we all know the Simpsons like predicting the future anyway, so
well.
Let me ask you something about the 3 fingers with God thing. Do you think it could be, it's probably an animation error, but it could be that through Homer's spiritual journey, he's gotten closer to his higher power, and therefore they're more similar now. And that's why God has 3 fingers.
That's actually I like that.
That. See, I told you it wasn't an animation error.
But I like that theory too. It's a good theory.
All right, guys. So it's time to enter our final thoughts.
Yep.
And so Lars, since I don't think you've got all the way to an end of an episode, we'll explain final thoughts here for you. So we like to give the episode a rating, 1 to 5. So 1 is a dough, 2 is eat my shorts, 3 is don't have a cowman, 4 is sprinkles, and 5 is everything's coming up Millhouse. And then we just give a little spiel on why we gave it that rating. So since you're our guest, if you'd like to go first.
So 4 is a what?
I would give sprinkles.
I would give this some sprinkles.
Okay. Any particular reason, or?
It has so many classic moments. It has like the funny, weird stuff we talked about, like the sound design, the short jokes, like Marge watching Homer wave, the Moe's hands with the snake handling, and it's satirical, and it's also like, it has the heart of like some of the best early episodes, but also is like intellectual in a way that holds up.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of my favorite ones that Conan O'Brien produced, and I think the ones he produced were just so great. And so, yeah. So that's why, I mean, this is definitely one of my favorites of all times, which I was glad you guys invited me to talk about it, because I think it's fantastic. Why is it not a 5? That's a good question. But I think could be a 5, but it's maybe 4.5.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
We allow our guests to get away with a half point. We don't do it for ourselves. I would agree with Lars. I'm gonna give it a 4 sprinkles. It's a really, really good episode. You get all the religious aspects of it. I think everybody can relate to this episode of not wanting to go to church or synagogue or services of whatever religion. And it's, the jokes are really funny. I think a couple of the jokes might not fly today, but but again, it's really good. It's a 4 for me. Sprinkles.
I mean, I'm sorry to disagree with you guys, but I have to go 5. Everything's coming up Millhouse. It's this episode just, like you guys said, it just has so many classic moments. I mean, the I'm a toasty cinnamon bun. I mean, that almost seals the deal on it for me. But
I think that's what brings it down to a 4 for me, because that meme is so overused. I love it, but it's overused.
But I love Homer acting like an ass, but still having the wherewithal to, kind of learn a lesson like he does in a lot of episodes. And I mean, in this episode, God loves cats.
Yeah.
He's scratching Snowball's head, and I own a cat. I know people give cats a bad rap, but as much as my cat used to tear my arms up, I still love the little guy. So for me, 5, everything's coming up Millhouse, and you guys know, Lars, you don't know yet, but as you listen to our episodes, I don't give those away lightly.
No.
Wow.
So that's where I'm going on this one. So let's finish off the episode with our character profile. And this week, our character we're highlighting is the one and only. Well, okay, we can't really say only.
Nope.
But God.
Yes.
And his favorite clothing is a flowing robe and comfortable sandals. His dislikes, Reverend Lovejoy.
Well, I didn't think God was supposed to dislike people.
But he gives him canker sores, so it's okay.
Yeah.
His quirks, he uses the roof instead of a front door to enter a home. Yeah. Takes the roof off your house.
Yep.
But it was only a dream, so you know. Homer's description of God. Perfect teeth, nice smell, a class act all the way. And his expertise, religion, and the meaning of life.
Yeah. Well, he's God, of course.
Of course he's going to know that. So, all right, Lars, thank you again so much for being on. One thing we want to make sure that everyone knows is if you want to plug anything new you got going on, where people can find you. And why don't you go out there and tell everyone everything.
All right, thank you. I'm on tour this fall, and you could go to nerdcoretour.com for the dates. It's we're touring most, 40 cities across the U.S., so if you want to come talk Simpsons with me, I'll be on the road. I'm on Spotify, and my new album, Blockchain Planet, comes out this fall. Ooh. And I appreciate you both having me on this very thorough, very Wonderful podcast, Stephen and Robert. You are both great hosts, and
thank you.
This was fun. It was fun talking Simpsons with you guys. So
yeah, awesome. And I did check your schedule. You're in Minneapolis. I think it was October 23rd. So.
Oh, if you guys are around, hit me up. I'll get you on the guest list.
Ooh,
that would be fun. I'd love to meet you both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that would make it. You'd be my 5th band that's put me on their guest list. So
hey,
I've never been on a guest list.
I'd be appreciative of it.
It'd be your first.
Yeah, awesome. So be sure to check us out on our social media: Facebook, The Simpsons Did It Podcast; our Instagram, The Simpsons Did It Pod; Twitter, Simpsons Did It PC. If you'd like to donate to our podcast, check out our website, buymeacoffee.com/Simpsons Did It. Feel free to donate 5, 10, 15, whatever you guys want. Currently, all our donations are going towards our merch. And right now, we have stickers to give everyone that's donated. So if you guys donate, I'll get an email and then I'll shoot you guys some stickers over to your mailbox. And the more donations we get, the more to come. And lastly, check out our YouTube channel, where you can find all of our podcasts in video format, if that's how you like to listen to them.
Yep.
So until next time, I'm Steven Sklansky.
I'm your co-host, Robert Skolansky.
And this has been The Simpsons Did It.
And now, a poem by Hans Moleman. I think that I shall never see. My cataracts are blinding me.
Moment, Hans Moleman, can't keep Hans Moleman down. Moment, Hans Moleman, can't keep Hans Moleman down. Moment, Hans Moleman, can't keep Hans Moleman down. Moment, Hans Moleman, can't keep Hans Moleman down.
Hans Moleman is his name, aka Ralph Millis. She's a stone cold player, Artie as if was mad jealous. When he dated Selma first, plus he's only 31. Drinking ruined his life, is such a sad story, son. Got a knife in his cane and a fire in his loins. The indie movie star who took a football to the groin. Burns thought he was a leprechaun, drilled him in the head. Slept with Lars Ulbricht's grandmother, then chilled with her in bed. He's more metal than Metallica, though that's not so hard. Homer drove him off the cliff, so impatient in his car. He was hauling Poe's house, just another day for Hans. But he's back on his feet, cause he's the mother flipping man. You know there's no escape from the fortress of the moles. He's been burnt, run over, buried, but he's still on a roll. He's been radiated, detonated, heartbroken twice. The Lazarus of Springfield always coming back to life. His name is Moleman, Hans Moleman. You can't keep Hans Moleman down. He's the bad luck Brian up on 20 Oak Grove. Hipster glasses so thick and brown. Moleman, Hans Moleman. You can't keep Hans Moleman down. Cause he's trying out for Poochie while he's waiting on his kidney. He's the talk of the whole darn town. Have you seen his green pants? Have you seen his new shirt? He wasn't yelling boo, he was yelling blue urns. Attacked by Roomba robots gone anthropomorphic. He's part Droopy the dog and part Kenny McCormick. He was riding on his Harley on the cover of his bio. Crashed into Planet Hype, yeah, he's been up there for a while. He was texting Homer, hit him, well surprised, he survived. He's twice as cool as Milhouse, though he can't really drive. Have you ever felt crushed by the weight of the planet? If you have, let me tell you that Hans Moleman understands it. You've gotta get up, you've gotta put on your tie, lace up your orthopedic shoes and look up at the sky and say, hey solar race, today you won't burn me up. Keep that Moleman PMA, you can break out of that rut. Cause when you're stuck in the snow, when you're starting to turn purple, just remember Hans Moleman when the wolves start to circle. Moleman, Hans Moleman, you can't keep Hans Moleman down. Cause he's like cowabunga dudes with a skateboard in his hand. Hipster glasses so thick and round. Moleman, Hans Moleman, you can't keep Hans Moleman down. Even in his iron lung, well he's still dependable. He's the talk of the whole darn town. This player was the mayor over 30 years ago. Brought an anthem to the people, he told everyone he wrote. Then one day it was discovered that the whole thing was a hoax. So they tied him to a horse out in the desert, let him go. This player was the mayor over 30 years ago. Brought an anthem to the people, he told everyone he wrote. Then one day it was discovered that the whole thing was a hoax. So they tied him to a horse out in the desert, let him